Echo.
Yeah. All right, John. Start us off.
David, what would you like to do better against Cleveland to give you guys the best opportunity to win that game?
Penalties, John. I've said this all along. We had a pre-snap penalty that ended up keeping us from getting in a situation where we could have got points that backed us up. I had two of those. We had them off the field on a roughing the passer. If we hadn't had that happen, that would have backed them up. They end up scoring on that drive. The penalties is the one thing, John, that I think that we have to get better at because it kept us from keeping them out of the end zone one time and kept us from getting in the end zone one time. And those things are critical.
Mark, go ahead.
1 second, guys. David, what did it mean to you to get the game ball? Have you ever gotten a game ball before in the NFL, and what do you plan to do with it?
I've gotten game balls before, not just me personally, just because for certain wins with the franchise or getting in the playoffs, those kinds of things. But I mean, it felt really, really good. And I felt like when they gave me the game ball, I felt like that game ball was going to our coaches, this team, this franchise, simply because for me, my first win, although I tell people I was 2-1 going into this game, but nobody remembers that 2-1. But right now we're 1-0, and we're played in a divisional opponent. We got to win, but remember this: this season is a marathon, and nobody remember. All people remember is what happens last, and once we start to go play this next football game, all that's going to matter is what happens in that next football game. But I feel really good about that, and I slept good last night. I'm going to put it in a little case that I have. I'm going to put it in a case, and I'm going to keep it in my office here at the Texas Stadium and not at home, to remind me every time that I come in that dressing room of that first win.
Sarah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Sarah, I can barely hear you.
Can you hear me now?
I can. Yes, Sarah, I got you now.
Okay. Nico Collins is 55% of snaps on Sunday. What did you see from him?
Well, I tell you what, though, he did a nice job. He's been getting better and better, Sarah, from training camp all the way through the preseason. You could just see it in him. And, he's very mature for a rookie. He never says a word. Sometimes I don't even know he's out on the football field until I see him make a play. But for him to go out there and when we needed him to have something happen for us, he did it. I tell you what, he did do a good job. He did a nice job in the run game, which you don't ever see, but he did a nice job in the run game. He's a very physical guy. He's a guy we know that we're going to need down the line on a basis of being able to make plays. And I'm happy with where he's at right now, Sarah. He's just getting better and better and better.
Aaron Wilson.
At the game yesterday, you watched Farrell's performance. What were some things that jumped out to you just now that you've had a chance to watch the game?
His physicality in the run game was what we expected. As I said before, those guys are an extension of our offensive line and our run game. I mean, he is a large individual, Aaron, and I'm telling you now, his physical presence is a factor. Size does matter up front, and the thing that I was happy to see for him, and he hasn't had a whole lot of opportunities during his career to have a chance to make some of the plays that he made for us yesterday, and it was good to see that happen. And then the one play that he and Tyra had was just a tremendous, tremendous play, and I was so happy for him being able to do that. And I say that because in Friday practice, he dropped 3 balls in Friday practice that I'm talking about were right in his hand. And, of course, I wasn't concerned about it, but I still had it in the back of my mind. And then to see him go out there and do what he did just goes to tell me the kind of maturity that he has, and that's what we expect out of him.
Could you give us an update on Vincent
Christie, they're still doing an MRI on him now. It looks like it was an ankle issue. It's not a knee. It's an ankle issue. We'll know more later on today about it. He is actually at the doctor's now. And, again, we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. But it looks like it may be something that could possibly keep him out this week and maybe further. But I'm not sure yet how long.
Do you expect to have Anthony Miller back this week?
We expect to have Anthony back this week. Yes.
Henry's. Hey, David, your team played more 13 personnel yesterday than it did all of last season. What is kind of those heavier sets? How does that suit Tyrod as a quarterback and just how you guys want to play this season?
Well, our personnel dictates we do that. That's who we are. The things that our offensive staff have schemed up fits that personnel group more so than the groups that we have done in the past here. We knew going into the game that was going to be a big part of what we do, and that's not going to change. I mean, that's who we are, and that's our comfort level with that. But we'll continue to change personnels and get a variety of groups in there. But when it gets down to the nitty-gritty, you're going to see us in that group because that's the best personnel on our football team offensively.
What went into the decision to elevate Auclair and then keep Reverend Jordan inactive rather than have all four tight ends given the way you want to play?
Well, because of the other positions on the team, as far as what we needed to have up on defense, for what we needed to have up in our defensive line, basically, and then Anthony basically fits that mold of what our other tight ends are like from a physicality standpoint, and we felt like he was more ready to do what we needed to do than Jordan is. And Jordan is progressing very, very well, but with what we are, you just talked about that 13 personnel, those three guys with that we play in there obviously fit that mode.
Brooks, go ahead.
Hey, David, how do you feel that the defense got pressure rushing forward, and how do you feel you guys are going to approach that against the Browns? Is there more you need to work on to create some pressure?
Well, I think what happened is we didn't get the sacks that we'd like to have, but what we did do, we rushed him. We made him, our up front people made him get out of the pocket. They made him throw some balls that he wasn't really ready to throw, which basically had a lot to do with a couple of those interceptions that he threw. So I felt like we didn't actually get the sack totals that we normally would be looking for, but we got the pressure from the standpoint of getting him off his timing and him making some throws that allowed us to get some interceptions. And also miss some throws, too.
Taylor out possibly out at this point. Is it who would have to step in his place and maybe fulfill that role if he's indeed not ready to go this weekend?
Well, we're not really sure yet how we're going to approach that. We're just going to wait and see in the situation with him, and then we'll just take it from there. But we're not really sure yet what we'll do with that.
Randy?
Hey, David, did anything surprise you the way Danny Amendola was able to come in after signing and still help you guys yesterday and step up and make some plays and, of course, caught that touchdown pass?
Not at all. Guy's been in this league 14 years, been a part of Super Bowl champion football teams. He's a football player. This guy lives and breathes. He wakes up. It's about football. I asked him what he'd been doing before he got here. He said, "I've been working out. I've been waiting on this opportunity." And what was good for us was that this is an offense that he's familiar with. He's been a part of this offense before, and it was an easy adjustment for him to just step right in there. And what he did in the game, we expected him to do. That's what he's been doing his whole career.
John?
David, you mentioned earlier you were actually 2-1 as a head coach. Were you an interim coach? What did you mean?
Well, I meant the preseason game that they didn't count, but we counted them here, and nobody else counted them. So that was what I was meaning, John.
David, what was it like, your text messages, emails, calls after you won that game from your friends around the country?
It was similar, John, to when I became head coach here. Not quite to that extent. I got calls from people that I hadn't heard from in a while, which was good. And I'll say this, I was up a little bit later last night than I wanted to be, not just because of the excitement of the game, but because they did text me, so I did text them back. But I mean, it was like my phone blew up. My phone blew up. But I got them all answered, John. I still got a few that I got to get to that's coming in today. But I've already now put on my deal that, hey, listen, I'm on to the next one right now. That one's over. Right now, it's about Cleveland.
Hey, David, can you talk about the difference in the first half and the second half? You guys were pretty clean in the first half, and you talked about some things to clean up. How do you address that, and what was the difference?
I thought we lost our focus a little bit in the second half. We had the lead the whole ball game, and I felt like that we lost our composure a little bit with a couple of penalties, and it kind of disrupted the flow of what we were doing. And when that happens, you got to get right back on track. And we weren't able to establish things as we had earlier, simply because we had some penalties that we did. We're getting ready to get them off the field in a critical situation, and we get a penalty, roughing the passer. We getting ready to have a chance to be able to go in and get another score again, and we get a penalty. I mean, those kinds of things, that's just focus and discipline on our part, and we'll address that when they come in today with understanding that you got to start fast, and then you got to finish the right way. And we didn't really finish the way we started that game.
Aaron Wilson. David, these last three guys. Sorry.
David, what did you think of Marcus Cannon's performance? Obviously, he had some rust to shed. That's how you rotated in Jerome Christian a little bit to spell him. And also, just your thoughts on Laramie, his first game back from COVID. Thank you.
Well, the thing about Laramie is obviously we know he's a heck of a player. You don't hear his name a whole bunch right now simply because usually the guy that's over him is not doing very much in a football game, and that's what you expect for him. Marcus came in. We actually had a set number of plays that we were going to play him simply because it was his first time back for a while, and he did a nice job. We were taking him in, taking him out, and that was intentional. I thought he did a good job. The big thing was we wanted to make sure he got out of there healthy, that he got out of there feeling pretty good. And that happened during the game. He was fine. I thought those guys did a nice job.
Aaron Race. David, how long do you anticipate you'll have to kind of keep Marcus on a pitch count like that? And then also at running back, what went into the decision to kind of have the four active that you did, and Scotty do that after this game?
Well, again, the four running backs, obviously, you know what we want to try to do with offensively. And those guys, those four particular guys, got a skill set that's different from each other. I mentioned this before. And offensively, we have a way to be able to use that skill set because those guys are good quality players. And then as far as with Marcus, we'll just kind of just see how he feels as we go into practice, and that'll be predicated on how he feels and how his stamina is, and hopefully we can get him a little bit more than what he got this week. I took my shoes off. I got some open-toe Nike shoes on. I didn't put any socks on. My feet was breathing. I felt like I lost 5 pounds when I took those shoes off last night.
All right, last one for Brooks.
Maybe you tell you guys expect Anthony Miller back in. How do you guys approach using him, using Danny? How much of a factor does he bring into the offense now?
Well, we'll just kind of see with practice how it goes, and we'll decide at the end of the week how we want to handle that. And again, with injuries, you never know what's going to happen. Basically, we could have played him this past week. Although we wanted to make sure that everything was good with him. He practiced. He did a really good job for us. But when we got to that decision, we wanted to make sure that that for the long haul that he's ready to go. And we'll just see how it goes this week.
Okay, thanks, Coach.
Thank you.